Hello there, fellow modelers, and welcome back. Boyd here with you again. Well, this is part 2 of my Enterprise E build, and I'm picking up where I left off in the last first update. I finished doing all the window scraping on the saucer. I've got the bottom side done here now as well. Everything went exactly the same using my little toothpick and my little stick pin there. Got all the windows opened up. So I wanted to show you guys where I'm placing the LED strip to light this. I did a little bit of testing and fine-tuning and got everything laid in here exactly the way you see it. I've got it all glued down with some CA glue. And it looks like I'm going to be running this at 12 volts like I kind of thought. That way we get a really nice even dispersion. We'll show you the lighting on this in just a little bit. But this is, you know, this LED strip that I've got here is going to be plenty enough to light the entire saucer on the top and the bottom. I didn't even have to put any LEDs in the upper part facing downward. Everything being white on the inside like this, the light's bouncing around really good and it looks really nice. I posted a couple pictures of it on my Facebook page. But what I wanted to take you guys through next is to show you what I'm doing for the navigation lights and the little marker lights on this. So I'm using some 0.755 or 0.75 millimeter fiber optics here from the fiber optics store, and I'm just snipping off little pieces of this. I'll show you what I'm doing here. Basically about a 3-inch long little piece, and I can trim it down later if I need it to be shorter. And what I like to do is I like to mushroom these the little tip here. So you just take a lighter and just kind of really gently, don't put it right into the lighter, but get it about maybe 1/4 of an inch away and just watch it, and you'll see the tip mushroom over that like that and make a nice little kind of a dome on there. And that way it keeps it from being pulled all the way through. And basically what I do is I go on the outside here and pull it through just like that until it's totally flush. And then we just bend it over here. You can bend these pretty good without breaking them, and keep it nice and flat like that. I want to make sure I keep my finger on it here to make sure it stays down completely flush on the outside. Then I'm using this product here that you guys have seen me use quite a bit. This is called Solar Res. You can go to www.solarres.com to find this product. And this is their hard finish doming resin. This is the particular version I like to use. It dries nice and clear, and it's really thick. And as you've seen me use it before, you can actually make little domes on top of stuff, or fill in little windows, or do all kinds of things. But it works as a really good glue for gluing fiber optics down as well, because it doesn't attack the fiber like a lot of type of adhesives will, and it dries basically instantly. So I've got to let it kind of settle down towards the tip here a little bit. It's like molasses. You can do things like put this in some hot water, you know, just let the bottle sit in some hot water and it'll get a little thinner if you want it to be a little bit more runny. And if you want it to be a little bit more thick, where you're going to make a little dome or whatever, you just, you know, drop something on it and just slowly lift off and it'll make a nice little dome. Stick it in some cold water and let it sit for a little while. You don't want to microwave it or, you know, do anything like that. But so let's see if we can get a little bit of the stuff to come out of the tip here. And I'm just coming right back behind on the back side of the fiber optic there where it goes through, and just putting a little dab on there. Then I've got my little UV flashlight here that I also bought over at Solar Res, because it's supposed to be tuned to match their compound here, but I'm sure you can get these other places. This one was nice because it came with a nice rechargeable battery and a little charger that came with it. So kind of get you an angle where you guys can see it, but you hold it a couple inches away for about 20 seconds. And just like that, we're dried. So then what I'm doing, you guys, is I'm coming in here with an SMD. Now I've got to get some white ones. These are the ones I'm going to use. There'll be a white one here at the bow, on the top and the bottom, but I'm going with a green one here. Get this untangled here. I've got a green and a red. These are 0805 SMDs that I get from Jerry at HD Model Works. And I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to figure out where I want to put this. I think I'm going to put it right about here. So I'm going to just nip off my my little piece of fiber optic there. And I'm going to kind of move it over to the side here and get it lined up where I want it. And I'm going to put a little spot of this solar res right here. Not quite on the tip yet, but just so it's going to hold it down. And I'll go ahead and hit this. Again, about another 20 seconds. Okay, now we're going to take our green SMD here and being really careful to make sure that the actual emitting part, the lens, is facing, you know, the right direction. I'm going to put it right up against the tip of the, you know, the tip of the fiber optic in here. No need to dome the one that you got on the inside. I just do the dome on the outside so they look nice. But I'm going to stick it right up against this piece of fiber optic here. And I'm going to completely cover it up, this whole thing, the tip of the fiber and the SMD, with a little puddle of this solar res. Just like that. Make sure you're careful and you don't move it. And then I'm going to dry it. Give it just a couple more seconds here. Okay, now it's completely dry. So I'll go ahead and light this for you really quick. Gotta strip some wire off here. Now these won't be lighting at 12 volts because we're going to have a control board. Even though the input to the control board coming in will be 12 volts with the rest of the model because it'll be wired into the main power, the output on that board won't be 12 volts. It'll be a little bit... Oops, I got this backwards. Gotta reverse my polarity here. And you'll get that output coming out of the board. Okay, so we'll go ahead and power this up. And we'll take a look on the back side here. And you can see you've got a really nice small little pinpoint of light there that's in scale with this ship. You don't want these huge navigation lights on this thing. This is supposed to be 1/1400 scale. And then these will be hooked up to the board so that they'll blink. Okay, so now the issue that we have is that we don't want that green light to leak and into any of our surrounding window ports. We want to isolate that. So a real simple trick, I've showed this to you guys before, but some of you might not have seen it. I'm going to use a little bit of my Anita's Craft acrylic paint in black, and I'm dipping right out of the cap here, taking a little brush, and I'm just going to paint right over this little dome that we just made here where the LED or the SMD is located. Okay, it may take you a couple of coats to get it. You want to put it on there and then let it dry and then come back and check it, because it's not the thickest stuff. And you might be able to do this with tulip if some of you guys use that too. That might actually work even better. But what you want to do is you want to make sure you completely cover up any of the clear solar res that's spread out a little bit away from it, because it'll come out of that, the light will find wherever that solar res is. So you want to come away from it a little bit, make sure you completely cover it. Then I'm also going to dab a little bit on the spot right here where it goes through the hull, just so we don't get any light leaking in that. And if you want, as a matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over this whole fiber optic here. That way no light can get in there and leak out when it's in between blinking. Just kind of cover it up a little bit there. Don't have to go crazy with that, just a little bit will take care of it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do the rest of these while we're here, over on this corner. And then the one up on the bow. All right, and like I said, you might have to come back and double check that. I just wanted to show you that before I went any further so you guys could see how I do that. I'll be attaching a red one over here the same way, another SMD I've got ready to go. I'll clip this off and get it all set up, but that's the method I'm using for this, you guys. Now, this model, the edge of the saucer, when it goes inside of the top, the lip comes down and touches really close. So the top SMDs that I put in, they're going to come down and they're going to touch this lip here a little bit. So you might have to grind off just a tiny little bit. But what I did is I tried to keep this all really low profile. I test fit it and it didn't look too bad, so you may not have to do that, but that's just something to think about. You might have to take your Dremel tool and just remove a little bit of material so that the lid will close completely flush. But this method works really, really good, and you can do this in a lot of different applications where you've got little navigation lights and stuff, and you don't want the light source to bleed into any surrounding windows and things like that. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next step now, and I'll be right back with some more. Alright, so what I've been working on here is I've been working on the engine nacelles and starting to think about what I'm going to do on the secondary hull. I haven't painted this yet, but I'm going to use the same method that I used for the saucer. I'm going to paint this all black on the outside. You can see we've got a whole bunch of these small little window groups to do our scraping on. And I think everything's going to work out just fine for that. It looks about the same as far as the thickness of the plastic. Looking at this, I'm trying to kind of determine what I want to do as far as where I want to place my lighting. And so I'm thinking that pretty much along this entire upper section here, I'm going to put a continuous run of some LED strip tape all the way across. And then I'll do the same thing so that we'll have two of those, one on each half of the hull. And I think that's going to be more than enough to light this entire thing. Now, one of the things I'm worried about is this little area right here where you got these two little braces. And this whole thing is plenty strong and everything, so I think I'm going to get in here with my Dremel tool and remove these. That way I can have a constant open, area that runs all the way through here, and the strip can go all the way to the front. And then the deflector housing fits in here anyway, and we'll just figure out, what we're going to do with that. Now, the deflector, I'm not doing anything special with that, where it comes on separately or anything. So the ambient light that we pick up from inside here is going to also light the deflector dish, and I'll just tint that with some Tamiya color. And pretty much the same thing on these nacelles. You can see on this is if you're not, if you're familiar with this kit, you already know how it's set up. But if you're not, just to give you a look at it, you can see that when you close these up and the chiller grill goes up on the top here, you have no way to get light up in here. So what I've done is I've taken my Dremel and I've opened up this entire section. I use this as a guide. I would keep placing it back on there to make sure I didn't go past where this actually sits, so we didn't have any gap there, and that worked out really well. These actually fit on this model really, really good for a change. Some of the other kits out there, the older AMT Star Trek kits, they didn't fit very well. So I think we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a strip of LED tape in here, and then I'm going to use that to pretty much light everything. I'll just paint the parts. I'll use Tamiya transparent blue for the grills here, and I'll use transparent red up here at the front for the Bassard collectors. Now inside of this area, I'm going to use warm white LED tape. I've talked about this before. When you, I've just found that when I use the Tamiya clear paints, that if I backlight those with a warm white instead of a regular white, that the colors keep their rich look. Whereas if I use the regular standard white or bright white, they tend to get kind of washed out. Like a red will look almost more like a purple, or a blue will look a little bit more faded. And the warm LED strip will light that very well. We're using regular white to light the hull here because I wanted these windows to appear really white. I talked about that in the first video where, going through the plastic, I wanted to make sure of that. On the deflector dish here, we'll just have to paint a little bit of extra thick color on there to kind of keep from that happening, that effect I'm talking about, but we're going to do that. Now what I'm going to do is, up here at the front, I'm going to take a couple of pulsing SMDs, Jerry has those at HDA Model Works. I used a couple of them a while back on my Cylon Baystar build, and I was really happy with how they looked. You don't need a board or anything. They'll just kind of do this nice pulsing. And I'm going to put one on each side here, and I think I'm going to do those in orange so that we have the red lenses here, and it'll kind of give a cool little effect. And they'll actually go out of sync over time, so it'll kind of give this kind of stirring motion in there. Not exactly like it was in the film, but pretty darn close, and it'll be really simple to do. And then, of course, here at the back, we've got to do some fiber optic. I'll put a SMD down in here, just like I showed you with the saucer, that same basic method. I'll run a little piece of fiber. We've got the little blinking strobe that has to go here. I'm not sure if it had one on the bottom or not, too, but it definitely does on the top from what I could see in the short clips I've looked of this. So that's pretty much the plan. I'm going to be working on this, and I'll come back in the next video and show you where I've gotten with this and explain everything that I've done. We'll probably actually do some work on the bench. But before I close out the video here, we'll come back one more time, and I'll show you the... we'll go ahead and light up the saucer for you. A couple of people have asked about seeing that, so we'll show you that before we leave. Be right back. Okay, we're back with the last part of the video, everybody, and I thought I'd show you the saucer lit up. I've got it hooked up to my power supply here now. All of our LED strip has been installed that we showed you there, and the lighting's looking really nice on this. It's really nice in scale. I am running this at 12 volts, like I kind of thought I would have to make sure that we get a nice even lighting going on all the way around. The lights come to the edges of the perimeters really well. All the small little lights look good, and I really like this because they're not, you know, they're not overly bright. And I've gone in and I've darkened behind some of the window groups here with a little bit of black paint to look like, you know, make it look like some of them are not lit and the whole thing's not lit up. And that kind of improved that. And here I'll show you the bottom side. You can see the little window groups here. What I really, really like about the scraping method here, like I mentioned before, is that they come out really clear. I don't know if you guys can see how well defined that is. The little bars in between the windows look nice and clean, and all the windows are exactly the same size. The other thing about this scraping method is that you keep the windows, it keeps the windows the actual size they're supposed to be, nice and small, where when you drill, you're going to definitely go over just a little bit. You know, you just can't help it, especially the more of them you do. So this is working great, you guys. I'll be back again in a couple of days, maybe over the weekend, to give you another update. I'll be working on those nacelles and getting those all put together. And I've got to do a little trenching work on the pylons to get my wires up through there. But this is coming together pretty quick. We'll get the basic assembly of it done pretty fast here, and then we're going to look at the decals that we're going to use either from HDA Model Works, or I've actually got a set of the A Creation decals as well. So we'll check that out in the next episode, you guys. Until we'll see you next time, like always, take care and happy modeling, everyone.